I've got no business making knife reviews. OG out here with you in the woods of Idaho, doing something that I really have no business doing, and that is a knife review. I've told you before, I've done a couple of knife reviews on this channel. I'm not a knife review guy. I'm a guy who carries a knife. I carry a fixed blade knife often. I carry a folding blade knife every single day, like almost every single one of you. I don't know that much about knives. I don't know all the technical specs and what's good and what's bad, but I do know what looks good. I know what functions well, and I know a dang sharp knife, and this is easily the sharpest knife I have ever owned in my life. A company called Katana is now selling folding knives, and they sent me this knife. They asked if they could send me the knife. I told them straight up, listen, I'm not a knife review guy. If I like the knife, I might do a review on it, but you're kind of risking something if you send me a knife. Well, not only did they send me a knife, they sent me two knives, because this guy dropped one in the lake. My original one went in the lake and is nowhere to be found. So this is part 2 to the Katana. This is called their M390. This is easily the sharpest knife I've ever had out of the box. But let me quick give you a breakdown about this folding knife and why it's kind of special. This is called the Katana M390Z1. Now the M390 evidently stands for the steel. I don't know the first thing about steel, and don't bother writing down below all the technical specs about different steels. I don't care. And if you're the kind of guy who cares about steel, you need to take a break and go out and get a girlfriend. Oh, by the way, while you're out looking for a girlfriend, don't tell her that you know a lot of things about steel, or you'll never find a girlfriend. Those are your words of wisdom from Uncle OG. Back to the show. This is a nice compact folding knife. This has an overall length of 7.68 inches. It has a 3.15 inch blade. The blade width is 1.06 inches. The blade thickness is 0.16 inches. The handle is 4.53 inches long and comes in at 0.55 inches thick, so about a half an inch thick. And you'll notice there that it's got some nice little spacers inside. The handle on this thing is all made out of titanium. That's right, titanium. And has a nice little carbon fiber. I'm not sure if it's real carbon fiber. Again, there's another thing I just don't know anything about. I don't know if that's actual carbon fiber, but it's a carbon fiber looking product that has little flakes in it. This one happens to have red flakes in it. The first one they sent me was just pretty much a black and gray, which had a really nice look to it. I now only own the red flaked carbon fiber version. But this handle, all made out of titanium, comes with a little pocket clip there with a single attachment point. Pocket clip has 3 little holes drilled in it, presumably to make it lighter. I don't really know if there's any reason for that. And inside of that pocket clip, if you can see right there, there's actually a little nub in there that grabs onto the inside of your pocket and keeps this thing secure, even if, like me, you tend to bend these things every time you pass a doorway and pull them out of whack. They're all bent to hell. You've got to take the screw out, take some pliers, and screw them back into place. Now, when Katana sent me this knife, it came in a little box with Invictus blades on it. So I was a little confused. Is Invictus Blades the company that makes this knife, and they boxed it up in this box of their own, and then Katana is selling this set? I don't really know. I don't really care either. I will tell you that inside the box is the knife. You don't get a little pamphlet, you don't get a little spec sheet, you don't get a little care and maintenance booklet, nothing. One of the features I really like about this knife is this little flipper here on the top. The little flipper has 3 little engraved lines across it to make it easier for your finger to snag. And although it's pointed, and remember that's the part going down inside your pocket, this knife is very easy to flip open with that little flipper and locks in place. It's a button locking knife, it's not a liner lock, hence you don't have the extra little layer of metal inside. So this knife flips open very, very easily. That's something you definitely want in a knife, but if it opens too easily, you gotta wonder, is the blade gonna be rattly and clinky and all this stuff? Well, this is the second one, as I mentioned, the second version of this knife, and I will tell you, there is a very, very strong lockup. This thing has no side-to-side play. It has no up and down play. It absolutely is the strongest locking mechanism that I've ever seen out of a button locking blade. The blade is nicely centered in the handle, which is another sign of really good quality manufacturing. It's not goofy side to side. It holds nice and tight in the center of this knife. As I mentioned, the body of this, although it's nicely engraved, it's actually not engraved, it's kind of molded or maybe even machined it to look kind of all these little futuristic cuts on it. Not really my style necessarily. It's not one I would normally pick out of a knife case, but it does have a lot of cool styling on it, kind of a futuristic look. And I will say that the carbon fiber inlay on that is perfectly matched. It is basically CNC machined to the titanium handle. There's also some really nice stainless steel hex bolts throughout. Over here on the side of the blade is some kind of a maker's mark, some kind of a flying tiger logo, which is a nice little touch. And then the opposite side has the M390 engraved right there. So laser engraving on there is real nice. A little bit of lightweight jimping there on top if you're ever going to use this thing for precise cutting or to get your thumb on it for a little bit deeper precision cuts. It is a drop point blade and has a little bit of an uppercut there and a very nice little tip. I mean, it's actually one of the nicest blades I've ever seen out of the box. It is a bead blasted blade, and I will tell you from my limited experience, bead blasting are a little bit cheaper blades. It's maybe not as corrosion resistant as, say, satin finish or even a plain old stainless blade of some sort. The blade has absolutely zero little imperfections. You can just run your nail over it, and normally you can feel a little tiny bumps where other knife makers have little tiny imperfections that somewhere in the process. This is absolutely perfect razor blade kind of manufacturing here. So one of the negatives about this knife, I know, when somebody sends a YouTuber something for free, you expect them to say nothing but great things about it. Well, I told them up front that I'm going to talk about this knife truthfully because I honestly don't care. I don't need them to send me more knives. I have plenty of knives. So one of the chief complaints that I have about this knife is that right here, when you're gripping the knife, it has room for your index finger. It doesn't really have enough room. This little cutout right here is not really big enough for two fingers. It's actually too big for one finger. You can get one finger in there. The second finger, even though I've got big old giant sausage fingers, the second finger always lands right on that little hump right there. So they could either close that little cutout up a little bit and make it room enough for one finger, or they could open it a little wider here and make enough room for good old-fashioned two-finger hold. As long as I've been using this knife, I have not been able to get this clip to loosen. That's a big, giant complaint. I absolutely hate knives that I can either bend the clip, which I haven't done yet on this one, or they'll just come loose, and I end up putting a little bit of Loctite on there or a little bit of clear fingernail polish and kind of locking them down. I have not gotten a loose clip or bent this clip out yet. Now, I suppose if there's another negative about this knife, it's the price. I'm not typically one who spends more than about $100, maybe $150 on a knife. Right now, this thing is coming in at a little over $200. Now, it's an extremely well-made knife. Do not get me wrong. This is not a cheap Amazon knife. This is not a gas station knife that you're going to find in a case alongside a bunch of dragon knives with little rubies in the eyes. This is a well-made, very nice-looking knife. For the price, a little over $200. Oof. Not a lot of those things are going to move, but again, we're using real titanium and probably fake carbon fiber. I'm not really sure, but anytime you use real titanium, you're driving up the price of your knife, of course. And for what reason? I don't really know. God damn it, fucking airplane.
6.5 hours later.
If you're looking for a really well-made knife, a church knife, or what we call a barbecue knife, then I think you can't go wrong with something like this. It's absolutely a well-made piece of gear. So I don't know that much about these things, but I've put the link to this thing in the description section under the shopping tab. This is something that YouTube offers that takes you straight to the website and allows you to purchase this knife directly through YouTube, but from the manufacturer. And if you do that, OG's Danger Show makes a couple little pennies on the side, and that never hurts. You help support the show, and you get yourself a cool knife. Not to say this knife is dangerously sharp. is not an understatement. I had the first generation of this knife, the one I lost. I had this with me at a gun course, a rifle and shotgun course a few weeks ago. I reached up to use it to pry loose a loose hole from a shotgun shell in a dirty chamber, and I went right across my thumb, zapped myself, and cut a nice big gouge out of the side of my thumb. So got that on camera just for you guys.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody!
Everything's gonna be alright.
Yep, cuts just fine. Okay, that's about it for my non-knife review. So if the mini Katana M390 is something you think you can use in your life, go down here, use the link in the description section below this video, and pick up your version of this knife. Also, don't forget, there's merch available now. OG's Danger Show coffee mugs, tumblers, and of course t-shirts and hoodies over at Southern Gals Crafts. Link in the description right below. All right, enough of this crazy knife review stuff. Let's get back to regularly scheduled programming. You guys stay safe out there. Stay armed whenever and wherever you can, even if it's with a folding knife. And until next video, OG out.